Welcome to the Biz Bash podcast, where we make biz strategy a piece of cake. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cami, but you might know us better as Eliza Ann Calligraphy and Cami Monet. We want to help you, our fellow stationers, artists, and calligraphers, confidently build a profitable and personality-driven creative biz.
We're here to share our honest-to-goodness advice and actionable strategies for ambitious artists.
So put on your party hat, quit being a procrastinator gator, and let's get this party started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Biz Birthday Bash podcast. Today, we will be talking about seasonal shifts in your business with Marti Harris of M Harris Design. Marti is the owner of M Harris Design, where she offers timeless wedding stationery and calligraphy services. She loves getting to work with couples from all over the world, and her favorite part about running her own business is getting to channel her creative gifts to serve her clients in such a significant season of life. She's been married to her husband, Wade, for 4 years, and they currently reside in Nashville, Tennessee. She graduated from Auburn University in 2015 and is a self-taught calligrapher, designer, and stationer. So welcome to the show, Marti. I'm so excited you're here.
I'm so pumped to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be great. Marti and I have known each other via the interwebs and actually have met in person. So for the past 5 years at least, I feel like that we've known each other.
Mm-hmm. I know, I always forget about that. Like, it was like a flat lay workshop, right? That we met at in Birmingham.
Yep. And I actually stumbled across the photos from that the other day. I should go back and find them again and send them to you because there's a couple really cute ones of us.
I'm sure we look like great babies.
I know, we actually do. It's kind of crazy. So obviously I gave listeners the little blurb that you kind of wrote for us, but tell us in your own words how you got started with your business and why you were originally drawn to paper and calligraphy.
Yeah, so I've always loved channeling a creative outlet. So honestly, I feel like with a lot of people, it just got started with lettering, literally the Sharpie lettering that you would do when you were younger. I was always doing stuff like that. And so lettering, and then when I graduated college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was obviously doing other things, but just kind of was I want to learn how to do real calligraphy. So I started with straight up calligraphy. And then for my first job out of college, I kind of had to learn how to do very, very minimal graphic design work, just the basics. And I really enjoyed it. And so after that, I was kind of well, what if I just married the two, my creative outlet with calligraphy and lettering and then graphic design. And so kind of started doing stuff for friends. And then I feel with a lot of people in the industry, it's just very gradual. And before you know it, you have people who are actually willing to pay you for the things that you like to do. And you're oh, maybe I'll make a business out of this. And then, obviously there's that shift where you actually have to buckle down and make it a business. But that's in a nutshell, how it all started.
Yeah, that's great. And I feel like that happens for a lot of us, right?
Yes.
kind of falling into it or realizing that we can merge our love of one thing with another, use maybe a little bit of what we formally learned in school and a little bit of our own creative ingenuity to start a business and get things up and running. And so I'm curious too, because you've moved from state to state, does that mean that you've had to restart or re-register your business every time?
In the early stages, I was still figuring out what I was doing. And so for a long time, I still am just a sole prop. And so I feel that's made things a little bit easier. But yeah, I was selling and then just licensing and all of that. I didn't even honestly fool with it. I feel I don't even remember. It's been such a whirlwind, but yes, it has made things a little bit complicated, but I think we are where we are right now. I think we're here to stay for a while. So luckily, I foresee any changes up ahead. So
yeah, that's great. Did you know at what point you wanted to kind of pursue this full time? What did that look like in that conversation with your family and your husband?
Yeah, my husband is actually a big part of me going full time with this, which is actually kind of sweet. So we were long distance, basically our entire dating and engagement. So when we got married, I moved to Kentucky, which is where he already was. And I left a job that I really loved. And like when I moved to Kentucky, I had already kind of been doing this on the side, been getting paid for it. It was basically like a side hustle at that point. And when I moved to Kentucky, I was just like looking for stuff and like didn't find anything that I like wanted to do or even was just like remotely interested in. And I kept getting more and more like traction with this side hustle. And my husband had just gotten a promotion. And so he was like, well, like, I feel like this is a good time. Like, if you want to try to like pursue this full time, like we have the margin basically. And so I was like, okay. And so yeah. And then it just kind of like kept picking up traction from there. So yeah, I don't know if I would have done it without him like pushing me, which is funny because he's not a risk taker and I am, but I think I just needed kind of like the affirmation of like, is this crazy? Like, should I do this? So yeah, it was like kind of right after we got married and I was just like, there's nothing else that I really want to do. And so that's kind of, I feel like the moment that I shifted into like actually considering, okay, I could do this full time.
Right. And I feel like when you are the risk taker in a relationship, you always need the okay from the non-risk taker first.
Yes.
So the fact that he really was on board, you're like, okay, I can definitely do this. Because you don't want to jump off the plank before everyone is kind of on board, I guess.
Right. And that was also like, it was no longer just me making decisions for myself. You know, that was like our first like big married decision. So yeah, so it was pretty cool.
When you first started your business, I know for all of us, things change a lot, right? Like what I offered at the beginning versus even what I do now, which obviously has been a huge shift away from wedding invitations. But even over like 2 years of doing wedding specific stuff, my services changed so much. Mm-hmm. So when you first started, what were you offering that you maybe don't offer now? And do you remember how much you were charging at the time? It's always hard for people to think back, but I always think it's a fun question.
Oh my gosh. I like could cringe at just really everything, like design from the things that I did to the prices I was charging. We all go through it though. From the beginning, I did offer like straight up wedding invitations and calligraphy, which is what I'm doing now. But I think the biggest thing that was different is that I was doing that and then like a million other things, I guess, because I was just like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Like I did like prints and cards and like just like more products. And I think at one point I was even like toying with the idea of doing like design only, like where I would like sell the design, kind of like they can print it themselves, like DIY.
Yeah.
And so in like literally like I was doing like trying to do like logo stuff, just like literally everything under the sun, trying to figure out like what stuck basically. And then, oh my gosh, my pricing, I'm pretty sure like my very first like straight up paying invitation client that wasn't just like a friend, I think I charged like $2 per invitation, which I'm like, I don't even know where I came up with that. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. Yeah, I don't even know if I like broke even with that, to be honest, but I do remember the like $2 per. I couldn't tell you anything else. I think I was also charging like maybe $1 or like $1.50 for like per envelope for calligraphy. So yeah. And then I don't even know how I thought that I was going to like make money doing that. But yeah, things have changed a lot. We have learned how to price ourselves well. And then now, obviously, I just do custom wedding stationery. So invitations, save the dates, day of, and then calligraphy, like envelope calligraphy. So I cut out like logo. I cut out products was the biggest thing that I was like, okay, I cannot do this anymore. I don't want to do this. This is not what I want to do. So yeah, that's my kind of my journey.
Yeah, I feel like you're either made for the product life or you're not. It's not like a maybe I will type of situation. Like maybe I'll have a few because I kind of tried to do that too, where I introduced some things and, even tried the thank you society thing. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not cut out for this in the long term. This is not what I want. I would love to have a boutique selling other people's products. I do not want to be making my own products.
It's a lot to design and then also like the inventory thing for me was just like the most overwhelming part. Like I just was like, I don't want to have inventory in my home.
Yeah, I think we should do like a survey of personality types of product shop people and see like what the similarity is. I think there's definitely like with Cami, the element of spontaneity and things like that that I know
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, I just don't do as well with. I love spontaneity in my personal life, but not so much in the business.
Yeah. Yep. I'm the same way. Like I'm very spontaneous. I felt like honestly I wasn't like organized enough to keep up with like the stock. So I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah, I know. I totally get that. What was the first time then that you officially cut out something from your services and you remember cutting it out because you didn't want to offer it anymore? Because I know I remember mine like pretty clearly the order I went in.
Yeah. I think like products were the first, like cards and prints. I was doing that. And honestly, it was fine. It was working, but it was just like the margin on those is just so small. And it was just like not worth it to me for what I was doing. And I was putting way more effort into like weddings anyway. And so it's like, okay, I don't even really enjoy this. It just, I feel like the cards and prints was something I like felt like I had to do. I was just like, oh, like if you're a stationer, like you offer this as
Yeah.
well. And then finally got to the point where I was just like, this isn't for me. And I even like was open to the idea of like, okay, I'm going to cut it out now. And then if I want to introduce it down the road, once I like have my stuff together and like know how to run a business, like I could do that. But it just, I never brought it back. And then I also vividly remember cutting out like holiday things. Like I used to do like Christmas cards or like holiday cards for people, and people loved it. And they like still ask if I do it. Like I think it's been like 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
But it was just like, I literally made no money off of them. I mean, like there was a small margin, but I mean, it's basically like designing a semi-custom wedding invitations without the like margins that you get. So anyway, those are 2 things that I like specifically remember cutting them out, and I have not looked back.
Yeah. I mean, that totally makes sense. I remember I had my season of doing the Christmas cards too. Like, and you're right, the margins just don't break down for that at all. I really think you would have to be printing it in-house. And even if you did that, you have the overhead of the printer, the ink, everything else, your own time that comes with that situation.
Mhm.
And yeah, so everyone has to figure out what works for them in their own business model. Because I know for me at the beginning, it was a lot of like exactly what you said. I should do this because everyone else is doing it, or I should do that. This is what people do. And it's taken me so long to really ask myself, well, what do I want to do? Like, what serves me in my business personally? How does it serve my goals? And to break away from all of that. So I want to transition a bit into and I didn't have this like question in here at first, but I want to know what your relationship right now looks like with promoting your business, specifically weddings, on social media. Are you using that much anymore, or are most of your clients coming from referrals and other things? So like tell us how that has changed over the years, I guess, like where you're getting your clients as well.
Yeah. I think obviously at first it was just word of mouth and then Instagram. There are still a lot of people who find me through Instagram and like randomly Pinterest. I've had a couple of pins that have just like done really well. And so a lot of people like still find me from there. But I feel like the majority of my clients come from either like referrals with either planners that I've worked with in the past or have relationships with. I mean, I have a ton of like really amazing wedding photographer friends who have referred me out to their brides. So shout out to any of you if you guys are listening. Incredible friends just in the industry who are willing to be like, hey, so-and-so, I know them. So lots of just like vendor referrals. And then people still find me through Instagram. Honestly, like lately, I mean, I feel like we're going to talk about this just like with the topic of this episode. Just life for us has been so crazy these last few years. And so along with that, just like, I feel like whenever life gets crazy or my business gets crazy, like I feel like usually the first thing to go by the wayside is social media. And I it's weird to say because that's like how I get new clients. But if I am like busy with current clients and I just like don't have the capacity to, like, Instagram's the first thing to go because I'll waste time on it. I'll scroll, or just like I'll be so concerned with like getting new clients that I forget to focus on like my current brides and couples. And so I'm just like decided to, if life is crazy, I will make my current clients my first priority. So I feel like because life has just been a whirlwind these last few years, like I have been horrible at keeping up with social media, and just like it's constantly changing and really hard to stay, I guess, like on top of. And for a while, like I didn't even have the music option on my business Instagram for like 2 years. And so like making reels was just like not an option for me. So just thinking about that, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on the things that I know that like I can succeed at. I was actually just like thinking this week about, okay, I need to like revamp my social media strategy. But as far as people finding me, like they still find me through Instagram. And then also like referrals is a huge thing for me, whether it be people that I've worked with in the past, like couples, or just wedding planners and other vendors in the industry. So
yeah, I was actually going to ask you if you've gotten to a point where referrals are strong enough that you could kind of set that aside and just not have to worry about it at all. Because it kind of sounds like you are in that stage a little bit.
yeah, honestly, it really just depends on like the year and the season, which, is like, it's just ever changing. And I feel like there are lots of things that are like, the sure thing that we know in the wedding industry is that, like, yes, people are going to always be getting married. But outside of that, it's just like things are always changing. But yeah, I mean, and honestly, those are my ideal clients too. Like people who already, like I am already coming highly recommended to them. And so it's like, you don't have to like sell yourself as much, which is nice. But yeah, I do love all of my couples who have come to me by way of referrals. It's just nice to like have those connections. So
yeah, it can make all the difference, honestly. I remember that kind of became a target for me pretty early on. And I guess really in like 2020 that I was like, okay, my intention is to like build all of this as much as I can without even really having to touch Instagram or be on that app as much as possible. And obviously for you with the seasons of moving, different times in the last 5 years, has that changed much of your client base? Or because you've kind of been in the same part of the country, do you feel like your location hasn't mattered?
Yes and no, because I think obviously the beauty of what we do, or what you used to do with wedding invitations, just as a stationer versus like photographer, planner, anything else that's like an in-person day of vendor, basically. The beauty of what we do is that like we can serve clients from all over. Like we can serve internationally, like, and we don't have to leave our office. And so it didn't really change my client base. Like I continue to work with people from all over. It doesn't limit who you can work with. But I will say that because I knew that going into our moves, like I was not expecting my business to be affected in other ways by moving. I mean, first and foremost, being that moving is just like a very big personal change. And so naturally, like your life is going to be crazier. Like you're not like once you're like when you're settling in and figuring out your new city and trying to like make new friends, like it's just like my business kind of shifted a little bit along with like, or it was forced to shift along with like my life change. And so I think that was a way that things were affected in my business that I wasn't really expecting. I just remember having to show myself like a lot of grace, like just because like the month before you're moving is crazy. And then the month after you get there is crazy. So it's almost like I felt like there was this 2-month, like not pause, but just kind of where I like things were slow. And, I was just having to like survive, basically like take care of the clients that I currently had on the table. But again, that was one of those times where it's like, there's no room for like anything extra other than just like making my current couples a priority. And so I don't know if any of this is making sense, but I just remember thinking like, wow, like my business was affected, but not in ways I thought. Like a lot of people are like, oh, so like, are you going to have to like change a lot of what you're doing? And I remember thinking like, no, not really, because it doesn't really matter where I am as far as like who I work with. Like I can work with anyone and my client base doesn't necessarily change, but I just felt like naturally I had to, like my business had to go with the changes that life brought, if that makes sense. So that was kind of a mouthful, but yeah, that was one like unexpected change of moving. And now like moving again, we just moved a month ago to Nashville. And so kind of was able to like prepare myself a little more and just again, like show extra grace to myself and my business, knowing that personal life change really does affect your business because you are your business, you know, or even for those who have a team, it's still just very, I think personal life is very intertwined with business life in that sense. So,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure. And a lot of things to just kind of consider and think about.
yeah.
Hey guys, we just wanted to hop in and talk about one of our amazing resources, the A to Z directory. All of us have thought at some point, how did she do that or how did she make that? And maybe you don't know where to start or how the heck to produce this amazing product you've dreamt up.
Well, the A to Z directory is the missing puzzle piece in your biz, you guys, seriously. So it's built in the form of a yearly membership, and it's your one-stop shop for finding suppliers and vendors for all the things. Literally where to print everything from custom invitations, greeting cards, mugs, koozies, acrylic printing, letterpress, custom ribbon. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it literally goes from A to Z. From acrylic printers to zipper pouches, we have it in the A to Z directory.
We want to help all of you search less and create more with this list of 300 plus vendors and suppliers. Don't worry, they're very organized. It's not going to be overwhelming and confusing when you join. And this membership also includes access to a private Facebook community. It's incredibly active and involved. And if you need a question answered fast, that is definitely the place to go.
Yeah, our Facebook group really is the best. You guys, everyone is so helpful in there. And we're in there too, answering questions you guys might have. So it's a great way to get access to us and ask us things without sliding into our DMs. So we're more likely to answer you in the Facebook group, just saying. Anyway, also in the Facebook group, this is new for 2020 and we're really excited about it. We are hosting monthly Power Hour Q&A sessions that are live, and these are only available to our A to Z directory members. So you can hop in with us live and ask us all your burning questions in real time and just hang out with us every month. And we do these at different times so you can actually be there live, and the replays are always available in the Facebook group for members.
This resource is priced at $147 a year, which honestly is extremely affordable and it's full of so many benefits, such as exclusive vendor coupons for members only. And we would love to have you guys join. Seriously, it's kind of like our family and our tribe. So visit bizbirthdaybash.com/directory to sign up today and use coupon code podcast2020 to receive $20 off your first year. That's podcast, all caps, 2020 for $20 off your first year.
We can't wait to see you in the Facebook group.
Bouncing back a little bit to pivot away from this, I would love to know if you could talk about, first of all, like when your personal style really started to show through, because I think a lot of people can kind of struggle with that a little bit. Of making something their own or realizing that what they're doing is truly actually their own, because sometimes you're imitating a lot at the beginning. And then also talking about pivotal moments in your business, like, or aha moments. Was it a class you took, investment you made, a suite you made? I'd love to pivot into all of this a little bit too.
Yeah, a couple moments. I think as far as my style, like really getting into what I feel like, or at least the early versions of what I feel like the style and that I've landed on now. I feel like it was like a year into, maybe a year to a year and a half into my business, into doing this, that I like figured out, okay, not only are these the services that I want to offer, but this is like the style that I feel like is me and what I am good at and the best that I have to offer while it's still like unique to me. So I would say, I don't know if there was any like pivotal moment as far as style, other than just like getting to a point where I was like far enough along in my business where I was just like, okay, not I know what I'm doing, but like I know what I want. I know what I want to offer. I know what I want this to look like. And then a couple pivotal moments. It's funny, like you mentioned like a class that you took or an investment that you made. So honestly, I think this was like a year into my business, because I can't remember when this was, but it was like the second, I think y'all call it Business Sense for Creatives now, but it was just, at the time, it was just like the Biz Birthday Bash, like the did. That was like my first, and I wouldn't even really call it like an investment because it was just so affordable at the time. Like, it was like such a steal for what you guys are offering. But that was the first moment, truly. And that was like when I was introduced to you guys, and I can't even remember how I came across, like, or who told me about it. I think it was honestly, I feel like Ashley Kraft was the one who like told me about you guys.
Maybe. Yeah.
But so that was like the first one of the first like pivotal moments where I started to see the value in what I was offering and started to think about like charging my worth, basically, as far as like my pricing. And it was a small pivot at the time, but looking back, like that was the moment that I like started taking myself seriously and just started learning like, oh, there's other people out there that like do what I do. Like I knew there were some, but even at that time, there weren't very many. And so that was something that I remember. And then I feel like a couple, again, maybe like a year or two into my business, I was like, I just want like, I didn't want like a business coach. I remember you talking like a lot about this. I wanted something niche, like within our industry, but someone who I could just like literally pay to like ask questions and walk through things with and just be like, okay, you know, someone who's further along in that. And so actually Jenny Sanders had offered, I don't know if she does anymore, but had offered at the time, like basically like mentor, like one-on-one mentorship. And that was kind of the first like big investment that I made. And it was like 100% worth it. That's when I like really started like having a legit pricing structure. I knew exactly how much I was going to make on each thing. Like she was just, I think she was in finance before she was doing stationery, and she was incredible. Love Jenny so much. I haven't like kept up with her or heard from her in a while, but she like that investment was incredible. And not just like helping me with pricing, but helping me figure out like my style and what I wanted to offer. And so I think from that point on, that's when I was like, okay, I felt like I was like legit, you know? So those are two pivotal moments that I think like really set me up for success and to be like where my business is today.
I love that. And I remember Jenny really well. I think you're right. I haven't seen much from her. I just took a peep at her Instagram, and the last thing was 2020. That doesn't mean people aren't around though. Like, you know, I don't always post, but I definitely lurk and see what people are up to.
Yeah.
But that's really sweet that she was able to help you so much to get things up and running and get started. And it really does make a difference having somebody in the industry who can essentially assist you or give you guidance in one way or another. And that's really sweet for you to say Business Sense for Creatives.
No, I'm being serious. Like that was the first thing that I had ever done like in the education realm for, or at least like paid thing, you know?
Yeah. I need to go back. Quite honestly, I should watch those again to see how relevant they are still. Yeah. We still sell it for anyone who's wondering. It's on our website and we still sell it, Business Sense for Creatives, which Marty's right. It would have been just Biz Birthday Bash 2018 or at the time it had come out. But I feel like I just need to like rewatch to see how it aged. So much changes in 4 years. I think a lot of the principles will still hold the same, but like things are more expensive now, and there might be some of like the pricing stuff that has been a little dated. But
that's the thing y'all were good about too. Like y'all never gave out like specific numbers. You were just like, hey, you need to just be charging what you're worth, you know? So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. We've always talked about what would it look like if we took some sort of coaching program to the next level, or I don't know, did some sort of intensive or something.
Yeah.
the details of that have been kind of hashed out and talked about for a long time. And we don't know. We always strike when the iron's hot, and we have yet to feel the right like burst of energy, if that makes sense. So talking again about seasonality, which obviously we have touched on a little bit with your moves, but we're kind of weaving in and out of everything that we're talking about today. Can you tell us what seasons you feel like your business has experienced so far when you look kind of back in hindsight? There's always a lot. And then is there one specifically that was the hardest? Is there one specifically that was the best? I'd just love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I mean, I feel like the first season of my business was just like that first year where you're just like figuring everything out. You're like just trying to break even or make a small profit as much as you can, just like get off the ground, which like that's the beautiful thing about this industry is that like it's very low bar like entry. So you don't just have to like shell out a ton of stuff. Like it's low risk in a sense. And so that first year I feel like was definitely like a season in and of itself, just me like trying to figure out what I was doing basically. I mean, you're all like, there were a lot of us that were doing it and still are, but you're still kind of charting your own course because your business is going to be different than someone else's that's doing the exact same thing. And so that, and then I feel like kind of the middle season where it's like, okay, I feel like I'm starting to like gain traction. Like I'm starting to be more confident in what I'm doing and what I'm offering. And then I feel like the season where I'm at now, where it's like, okay, I know what I want. I know like I have the freedom to like take on as many clients as I want. Like just feeling like, not like you've arrived, because I don't think we'll ever feel like any of us has arrived, but just feeling like you're in your groove and you know what your business looks like and you know what you basically like want to be doing. So I feel like those are kind of like the 3 seasons of my business so far. I mean, I've only been doing this for a little over 4 years now. As far as the season that was the hardest, I think that weird season, like right after, because we had lived in Kentucky for a little over 2 years and then moved to Austin. And again, like I was mentioning, like just that affecting my business in ways that I wasn't really expecting. And it was also like right after the huge, I guess, kind of wave of COVID. Like we moved at the end of 2020 to Austin. And so it was kind of like the dust had settled from all the craziness of like weddings having to be delayed and rescheduled. And I wasn't really affected by that. Like I'm so thankful. But, and I guess like that was maybe the season that was like one of the best, just because looking back on it, I just remember being so thankful that I didn't have to like refund a ton of money, like all these things. Like it was just things worked out really well that like I wasn't super affected by that. But it was weird because I like was kind of slower after the time that we moved. And that was kind of in the era where like I was expecting a ton of business and a ton of inquiries because it's like the wedding boom of 2021, you know, all these people that had like rescheduled and or like getting married in 2021, like literally the wedding boom that we all talked about. But then I kind of learned that it was just like, I was just personally affected by the move. And so I think that was the hardest, just like trying to navigate that season. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm talking in circles, but
You're not.
It was just hard. It was just hard, like in every sense, and that also showed in my business. But obviously, like things have grown and gotten better since then. But I just remember that, like honestly, like last year, like 2021, end of 2021 was like pretty slow. So yeah, but I mean, it happens. Like I feel like everyone experiences. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. Like everyone experiences ebbs and flows of their business, and I don't think you realize that like other people do as well. You just think that you always have to be like making tons of money and having like a billion inquiries in your inbox and to be successful. And I don't necessarily think that's true. But yeah, there are just highs and lows of every business. And I know everyone has experienced that who is a small business owner.
Yeah, it's really It's something that people just need to be able to hear from others because we
Mhm.
project the perfect stuff all over social media all the time. Everything looks better, everything looks nicer, everything is filtered, like all these crazy face filters now. I just can't
Wow.
get past it. I found a post from a celebrity actually the other day where she had posted a photo of herself in a swimsuit in a bikini, and she showed the one with the filter and the one without the filter. And she was like, I straight up feel like I'm lying when I
Oh my
use
gosh.
a filter because I don't look like that.
Yeah.
So it makes
Yeah.
it hard. It makes it really hard with all of that added stuff too.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And I don't think it's wrong especially for what we do to like when your social media is basically like your portfolio, like you obviously want to be showcasing your best.
Yes.
But also like you said, it's just helpful and a breath of fresh air to hear other people, other business owners say, like, just talk about hard times and struggles, because again, that is to me, that's inevitable. And I think that's also what makes you a better business owner, is like going through those challenges because you learn from them and you grow from them.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so for people who are experiencing changes in their business, right? Maybe they're looking to go through a move like you did. Maybe they are looking to become parents. You never know. So many different things in life can change. How can we as business owners try to best prepare for the big changes that
Mhm.
come our way?
Yeah. I think just knowing that, I mean, like mentally preparing and knowing that like life change is inevitable, like it does happen, and it may not be a specific change within your business, but like, I mean, I know I keep talking about moving because those are just the changes that I've experienced so far, but yeah, like becoming a mom, or like going from 1 to 2, or like, I don't know, like experiencing hard things or death in the family or grief, or like just anything that it feels like a personal change. I feel like it's okay if it doesn't, like great if it doesn't affect your business at all. But I just want to encourage anyone out there that is going through a big life change or even just a season in their business. Like, it's okay if it does affect your business. It's okay if you have to like pump the brakes for a little bit. Like, I know even in 2020, like Elizabeth, I appreciated so much how you were just so transparent with the fact that you were like, yeah, I like took a season and worked at Publix for a little bit. Like
Yeah.
that's so admirable to me, because I'm like, yeah, like sometimes we just have to do what we have to do. And there's no shame in that. There's no like, I mean, just like owning it, and being like, yeah, this is my life right now. And it may not look like how I expected it to or thought that it would, or it may not look like Susie from down the road who looks like she's killing it, but that's okay. And if you become a parent and you are like, I want to step back to part-time, like that's totally fine. And just like, again, I don't know if this is necessarily answering the question of like how to prepare for it, but I think just knowing for me, like I'm probably going to go through changes again, like when we become parents, or like if we literally just want to move homes, or if I ever want to like have an office or a studio that's outside of like my home, because I still work from in my home, or even like I want to completely pivot what I'm doing in my business and the services that I offer. Like I want to start doing products now, or I want to be a painter now, like just being open-minded to change. But also like if things never change, that's okay too. But I think just like being willing to say, okay, change can happen and it can affect my business, and that's okay. And to not feel like you are just totally out of control when that happens.
Yeah, I think kind of what you touched on, you said, I don't know if I'm answering the question, but that is totally okay, because I think the true answer is a lot of this stuff you can prepare as best you can in different ways, but it's never enough because you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, right? You don't know how it's going to be when you're becoming a mom for the first time. You don't know what it's going to be buying a house for a first time, or getting a studio, or any of these other things that can change in your business. We're all taking it one day at a time. And 2022 for me, because we're recording this in September. It's going to come out early 2023, which is just crazy. You're one of the first episodes of 2023, and 2022 for me has been it's just been much slower in different ways. Once I stopped with the wedding invitations, because even in 2021, I still had a little bit of that was kind of creeping over after I made that decision, right? You can make the decision and you still have to do the work to finish strong, to get all the clients offboarded that you had at the time. So this was my first full year of being a business owner where I wasn't seeking out, intentionally taking out wedding work. That doesn't mean that I haven't occasionally addressed envelopes and calligraphy. There's certain things, a couple jobs this year I've said yes to. One that I might try to do a live art calligraphy event. And I know now, after doing this for so long, what's really going to excite me and what I'm still okay with occasionally doing.
Yeah.
And what I have totally left behind as well, I'm okay with like saying no to. And that can sometimes make this year for me, especially the bookkeeping, not so fun to do. Because I've done a lot of hourly graphic design, independent contractor work for other people. So I'm not like, I don't know. I think that there's this pressure. I will just put this out there. I think there's pressures business owners that we need to be this like really big, bright, shining star, right? Yeah. We need to be the star of the show. We need to have a 6-figure business. There's all these messages we hear all the time. We need this. We need that. You should do this. You should do that. And I think 2022 has been the year of me discovering that I can take a back seat, quite honestly.
Yes.
I can work for other people. I've actually helped a lot of other people for free this year because that excites me. Yeah. Like being able to do some calls with people from our creative community, actually, when people ask for help and I just offer to talk to them, that lights my fire, and that doesn't even make me any money. But that's okay. Like it's okay that I have taken a back seat in this season of my business. And Will and I have always kind of said like 2022 has been my waiting for the next thing season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
No, I love that you brought that up, because I think that like, especially just with social media and even the shift towards like being able to work for yourself in any sense, even outside of like our specific industry, but it takes so much hard work to be able to build a business from the ground up. And so that is like definitely something to note. But at the same time, I think we like glorify the hustle and we glorify the like success stories and just the like the 6-figure businesses, like you said. And to a point where if you don't feel like you're in that category, you feel like, oh, am I doing things wrong? And again, there's like, it does take a lot of hard work. So I don't think there's anything like wrong with the hustle, but I just feel like at the same time, if you just want to have, like, I've never really been, not that I'm not a goal setter or anything, but I've never really been the kind of person that's just like, yes, and I want to like make this 6-figure business and I want to like be a millionaire and all these things. I'm just like, I'm happy like if I can do something that I love, that's flexible, that allows me to like maybe work from home when I have kids one day, and that like pays the bills. And
yeah,
I think more often than not, most of us would fall into that category. That doesn't mean that you don't goal set. That doesn't mean that you don't have big dreams, but just being okay with like, okay, if my business doesn't look like this, like you said, like this shining star, like that's okay too, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, definitely. I've always said, I'm like, I want to make a living, be able to have some money to travel and kind of like pay my bills.
Yeah.
I don't need.
That's realistic, you know?
Yeah, I don't really need, like at this stage of my life, a ton beyond that. And I will say too, when you obviously have a partner in your life or a spouse, that can alleviate a lot of financial pressure for people. So I feel very blessed to be in that position.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not like I'm making $0, you guys, but it's always like,
we're like, stuff for free.
worst comes to worst, my spouse has a salary that can pay our mortgage. That takes a big financial burden off of me. That if you're a single working person, a single parent, that's not going to be as easy or be the case. And so even more respect to people who are running their own businesses from that position in life, and different seasons for everybody. And we have to work with what we have. I would say, Marti, to kind of wrap things up as best we can, is there anything that after we've talked about all of this, we've talked about so much today, anything that hasn't been said about, like, what would you say to other business owners who are maybe struggling with navigating seasonal changes? I know that I think in the past few questions we have covered some of it, but basically any final thoughts?
Yeah. I would say just to, as best you can. I mean, I think this is going to depend on like your personality and how you're wired. So I don't want to put any pressure, but just like as best you can, embrace the changes that are thrown your way and know that if there are changes, like it's not, oh, you're doing something wrong or like you're supposed to look this certain way in your business, but embrace the change. And then also just like show yourself a lot of grace and have people around you that can like encourage you and lift you up. And because I know a lot of the change that I went through personally and in my business, like I couldn't have done it without my support system. And so that was huge. But yeah, I would say that sounds so cliche to say like, just embrace the change. But seriously, like just know that it's okay if things don't look the way that you thought they would look, or if they don't look the way that they did 5 years ago, 1 year ago. Just be willing to embrace it, I guess, is like kind of my final thoughts. And then, yeah, just showing yourself a lot of grace because you are not alone in that.
One thing I realized I had forgot to mention too, like all those are such good final thoughts, because change is inevitable. That's just like the reality of it. Things change every day, minute by minute. Time never stops. So the one thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about, obviously, my husband and like we would have the mortgage, paid if something terrible in my business happened. I was the breadwinner for the first 4 years. Yeah. So like I've definitely done the, I'm bringing home the bacon. Yeah. I'm making sure the bills are paid. I'm staying so vigilant to do everything I can within my power to make that happen. And he also had a year of job searching. And I think that for me was the hardest season, potentially in our 7 years of marriage that we kind of had to weather together. When you watch a spouse go through a job search that lasts that long.
Yeah.
And that you're
that
both
is a long time.
Yeah, a long time. And now it feels like a blink of an eye. But at the time, I just like literally cried so much. I cried.
Yeah.
So much that year. What were you saying? Sorry.
We like went through a similar thing, like in just transition where my husband had like transitioned out of the job that he was currently doing. We were like looking to move back closer to home. Like we were wanting that change actually, but like things just take longer sometimes than you anticipate. And it can feel like an eternity.
Yeah, it can feel really hopeless. Like there's certain seasons that can feel really hopeless. So you have to cling to the light in your life and the people who are shining that light and holding you up and offering support in the best way that they know how and in the way that you need to. And also remembering to do things for yourself, just from a self-care perspective when things are hard, whether personal life or business. Never forget that self-care factor. It can be as simple as making yourself a cup of hot tea, something that takes 5 minutes, taking a bubble bath, going on a walk, reading a book, getting your nails done. There's so many ways beyond just what I listed there, the cliche things that are self-care, to take care of yourself. Maybe self-care for you is meal prepping during crazy seasons to make sure you have enough food on the table. Things like that. Taking extra time to reset and all of that. So sorry, I feel like you had your like last thought and then I was like, oh, by the way, I forgot about all of this stuff.
Like inevitable that we're going to be like, oh yeah, because there's always just more that you could say on this topic. And yeah.
I know. Honestly think I could dedicate an entire podcast to just talking about life seasonality and just people's stories, and seasons of waiting especially can be the hardest.
Yes.
Waiting for a job, waiting for the right house, waiting to get pregnant, waiting for maybe it's family who's trying to move into the country. There's just so many things that we're constantly waiting for. So I could do like a whole episode on that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Tell us, Marti, all of the places that people can find you, Instagram, website, all that good stuff.
So you can find me on Instagram. It's just at M Harris Design. And if you want to be like real friends, I do have a personal Instagram. It's at Marti Harris _, and that's MARTI. And then my website is just mharris-design.com. You can find me there. But I want to be real friends with you guys. So
yes, real friends.
Follow me on all the things. Shoot me a message, honestly, like if any of this resonates, because I know how easy it is to like feel alone when you're going through seasonal changes. So if you just need somebody to talk to, shoot me a message on the interwebs.
I love that so much. And thank you for spending an hour of your time with me today to record this. And speaking of seasonal changes, you guys, I'm still doing quite a few guest episodes without Cammie as she nurtures and spends extra time with Mia. So It's not like Cammie's not going to be here. Just want you guys to know. But you guys know the drill in terms of leaving a rating and review. We would love if you could go to iTunes to do that. And Spotify, I think you can leave us stars now, which is really nice. I don't think you can leave a written review, but give us some stars on Spotify. And if you have questions, you can always go to bizbirthdaybash.com/Q and cake to leave them there. So we will talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.